And I say to you again, gentlemen, your questions are fruitless. I mean, keep me here forever if you want. Put me in prison. Hell, have me strapped to the electric chair and put down like a diseased dog if you must have a victim to perpetuate this illusion you call earth-led justice. Just know I cannot say more than I already have. Everything that I can remember, I have told you again and again with perfect candor. Nothing has been distorted or concealed, and if anything remains vague, it is only because of the dark cloud which has come over my, uh, no, I do not know what has become of Harley Warren. I hope that he is in peaceful oblivion, if there be anywhere so blessed a thing. All right, I'll say it again. Why don't you sit down, please? It makes me nervous when folks stand over my shoulder like that. And Warren used to do it. Is it what? Oh, yes, please, write this down. I don't mind. You ready? It is true that I have for 5 years been his closest friend, and I joined in on his research. Like I said, though, my memory is uncertain and indistinct. This witness of yours may have seen us together, as he says, down Gainesville Pike, walking towards Big Cypress Swamp at 11:30 on that awful night. Sure, that's fair. And we did have electric lanterns, shovels, boxes, and long coils of wire. I can attest. Yes, we had those things there. But what follows, and why I was found alone and scared and dazed on the edge of the swamp the next morning, I must insist that I know nothing save what I have already told you. No, I know. This one over here keeps wanting to tell me that there is nothing in the swamp or near the swamp, which sounds like the place I told you about. I am saying absolutely nothing beyond what I saw. Sure. It could have been a vision or a nightmare, a fantasy. I tell you, I fervently hope it was. Yet it is all my mind retains of what took place in those hours after that sweet, nice woman saw us leave the hotel room. All I remember is that one place and the thing underneath. And that is why Harley Warren did not return with me. He or his, as I've said before, the Harley Warren was studying the unknown. That was known to me. I mean, to some extent, the studies were shared by me. Of all his old, rare books on forbidden subjects, I read all of them. Well, all of them written in languages which I am master. Though, truth told, these are only a handful as compared with those in languages I don't know. Most of his books, I believe, are in Arabic. That devil-inspired book which brought on the end, which he carried in his pocket, right out of this world now. That book was written in characters unlike any I've ever seen before. Warren would never tell me just what was in that book. What exactly were we studying? Would you believe me if I told you I just don't know? Not anymore. Don't recollect. Warren always dominated me. Sometimes I feared him. I remember how I shuddered at his facial expression on the night before the awful happening, when he just talked so incessantly of his theory. Why certain corpses never decay, but rest firm and fat in their tomb for 1,000 years. No, sir, no, I do not still fear him, not now, no. No, now I fear for him. No, I do not have a clear notion of our object of that night. I do not know if I ever knew precisely what Warren was up to. It had something to do with that book, but I swear I do not know what it was that what he expected to find. 11:30 on Gainesville Pike? Sure, why not? But the picture seared into my soul is one of one scene only. And that must have been long after midnight, for that little clipped white fingernail of a crescent moon was high up, sitting pretty in the clouds. We were in an ancient cemetery. You seen Civil War cemeteries? Think older than that. Older than, well, I was going to say older than Moses, but that don't, just something my grandma would say. It was in this deep, damp holler, all overgrown with Spanish moss and dried grass and these strange creeping weeds. There's a smell that I remember thinking, and I mean, I know it sounds dumb, but at the time I was asking myself, is this what rotted stone smells like? Everywhere there were all these signs of neglect and decrepitude, and it really felt like Warren and I were the first living people to be here for, centuries. Yes, sir, centuries. My first vivid impression of my own presence in this terrible necropolis concerns the act of pausing with Warren before a certain half-obliterated sepulchre. What was that? A sepulchre. Sepulchre. S-U-P-U. You know what? Just say tube, one with a big slab on the ground. A tomb, all right? Any rate, we tossed down the equipment we'd been carrying, the lamps and the wire and the boxes and the digging tools and such. And get this, a telephone. Warren had it custom made and brought it with him. Yeah, that's what all the wire was for. We didn't talk much. I mean, not really, not while working. The task was pretty simple, and the graves didn't welcome words. We just set about getting rid of weeds and dirt and old dead grass that was covering the slab. After uncovering the surface, we stepped back some distance to survey the place. Then we returned to the tomb, and he used the shovel as a lever and got in there and tried to pry up the slab close to the stony pile. Probably was a monument in his day, like with the angels or crosses or something. But this one's no straight line or edges. It's kind of a strange shape, whatever it was. He couldn't get it lifted, so he shouted at me to come help, and with my help, we were able to get it tipped to the side. Oh, a stench that came out of that hole. God almighty. It seems kind of funny to mention him in all of this. No atheist in foxholes or ancient eldritch pits, right, gentlemen? Sorry. Dark humor. It was a terrible smell, worse than death. Made us sick and nauseated, and we had to leave for a little bit. After an interval, however, we approached again and found it bearable. It still stank, though. Warren flashed his light down, and there were stone steps, wet, sort of slimy, black and moldy, and the walls were encrusted. It looked like something Poe might have written about. Made no sense in a Florida swamp. Who'd ever put something like this in a swamp? I know, right? I know. No, sir, I do not drink, at least not much. And I do not think any of your mamas raised a fool. I'm just telling you what I saw, or at least what I can recall. Warren started getting ready, and then when he saw me starting to strap on my equipment, he turned and stopped me. He sounded so very calm despite all that was going on. No, Carter, he said to me. It'd be a crime to let anyone with your frail nerves go down there. That's how he talked to me, like a kid. Me, only 5 years younger than him. I tried to talk to him about what if he needed any heavy lifting or backup, and he just waved me off. You can't imagine the things I shall have to see and do. It's fiendish work. I'd be glad to have you with me, but your nerves couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle it? My nerves? You believe that? Here I am in the middle of the night in Devil's Own graveyard, cracking open black pits to hell with him, and my nerves couldn't handle it. I don't know. I put up an argument. Remonstrated with him for a bit, and I reckon part of me was glad he was so obdurate in the topic, and in his way, he got to be a little bit threatening. Never laid a hand on me, but he didn't like it when I talked back. Plus, he pointed out that we had this telephone set up, and I could keep tabs on him. He would just have the wires to follow back if anything bad happened to his lights. Lots of wire. Could have reached the center of Earth and back. Maybe he, anyhow, so after a minute, Warren picked up the reel of wire and adjusted his instrument. At his nod, I took one of the latter and I sat down on one of those old gravestones. Then he shook my hand, shouldered this massive coil. He could barely lift it, and he disappeared inside. For a moment, I kept sight of the glow of his lantern and heard the rustle of the wire as he laid it down after him. But the glow soon disappeared abruptly, as if a turn in the stone staircase had been encountered, and the sound died away almost as quickly. I was alone, but not. I held the telephone tightly. It was so quiet. No frogs, no birds. It's like the whole world just stopped at those old stone gates. I just sat there in that deserted place with all the dead and just had these ghastly notions. Felt like the graves themselves, those stones and shrines and monoliths, like they were alive, thinking, watching. I had to stop myself from trying to talk to them. There were amorphous shadows that seemed to lurk, to hide and sneak, even before I could whip my light around. And some shadows, I tell you, they never quite went away, no matter how bright I turned up my lantern. I started imagining that there were others there with me, other people, like a funeral procession, some blasphemous ceremony, mocking God and the devil and mocking me right there in that holler. Only I wasn't looking in the right place, at the right angle, fast enough, hard enough. Couldn't have been more than 10, 15 minutes, but it felt like a long time. Finally, faint little click, click, click sound came from the instrument, and I called down to my friend in a tense voice. Out loud, I mean, shouting down the hole. Then I tried talking to him on the phone. Probably did sound like a little kid, all scared now that Daddy was gone. I guess he's probably right about me. Scared as I was unprepared to hear how alarmed he sounded. Not Harley Warren, not him scared, I thought. Never him. But there he was, whispering, had a little shake to his voice. If you could see what I'm seeing. I couldn't answer. I just waited to let him talk. Carter, it's terrible. Monstrous. Unbelievable. This time my voice did not fail me, and I poured into the transmitter a flood of excited questions. Mostly one question. Warren, what is it? What is it? I can't tell you, Carter. It's too utterly beyond thought. I dare not tell you. No man should know this and live. Great gods, I never dreamed of this. And then it got quiet for a minute. Well, not quiet. I kept shouting questions. Tried to stop myself from imagining the gravestones were laughing at me. Tried not to imagine that Warren was laughing at me. Only I knew he wasn't. Warren was, when he spoke again, he sounded wilder, scareder. Put the slab back on and go. Don't ask me to explain. Just go. Get outside this, Carter. Try to make it. I heard. Thought about what he was saying, but I just stood there like an idiot, repeating my frantic questions. Around me were the tombs and the darkness and the shadows. But below me, some peril beyond the radius of human imagination, and my friend was in greater danger than I. And through my fear, I remember feeling a deep, vague resentment that he should deem me capable of deserting him under such a circumstance. But he just kept screaming, "Put back the slab!" Something in his panic made me braver than I felt, so I shouted into the phone, "Warren, brace up, I'm coming down." But at this offer, the tone in my auditor changed to a scream of despair. You don't understand. It's too late. It's my own fault. Put back the slab and run. There's nothing else or anyone can do right now. Quick, please, Randolph, before it's too late. I'm nearly caught. I won't make it out. Goodbye. And I stood there thinking, surely it has to be a joke. Or maybe he's having an episode. What if he's having some fit and just laying down there in the dark and he's hurt and all I have to do is go a very little ways and get him? Maybe I should run back and get some doctor, and if I leave, would he bleed out before I get back? Did that statue that looks something like a dog move? Or is it just me shaking her like a little kid? And oh man, Warren took care of me and I helped me when I needed it. And could I live in myself if I ever? Only right then he screamed. And I mean, it was coming over the telephone. But it was such a sad, scared, loud scream. I could also hear it coming up out of that dark nowhere. Only it was miles away. Curse these hellish things, these legions, my God, please run, please. And after that, it was silent. I just sat there screaming, crying. Sat there and over again, a million years, entire aeons passed. And I just cried and whispered, and I begged, and I just said his name, his full name. Harley Oliver Warren, over and over again. Just begged him to answer until I practically cracked the phone from gripping it so hard, and then I finally cracked it for real by slamming it into the stone and staring at it like it was burning me. And then it happened. I heard that click, click, click on the other end. Someone getting ready to talk, and I thought, oh man, Warren's all right. He's about to explain it was just a joke, or how he had some medical condition I didn't know about, and he's better now, or that he was just mistaken and there were no hellish legions, just shadow fantasies like me. He was just being silly and dumb like me. So I tell you, gentlemen, I snatched back up that half-broken phone and I said gladly, "Hey, Warren, you there?" Only it wasn't Warren that answered. It was the thing. I think just hearing that voice is the reason I don't remember anything else, that my brain is cloudy. I do not try, gentlemen, to try and that voice, how could you explain it, describe it, give it a name or words? It was just the first thing, the only thing I remember when I woke up in that hospital. Deep and hollow, gelatinous, remote, unearthly, mocking. Hell, did it even care enough about me to mock such a thing as I? This tiny little Randy Carter-shaped speck on the surface with a giant darkness bigger than all the night sky and 5 times as deep. Shall I say, it's the end of my story. I heard that voice, and then I woke up in a hospital. I heard that voice as I sat there petrified in the unknown cemetery in that holler, covered in tears and sweat and dirt, surrounded by crumbling stones and falling tombs, the rank vegetation and the just utter damn stink of the whole place. I heard that voice well up from the innermost depths of that stupid open sepulchre as I watched all the shadows give up their pretense and start dancing and celebrating and cheering. And all it said, gentlemen, all I remember was, "You've all, Warren is dead."